Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Hope you're all in tip-top form. And today I've got some vinyl LPs to show you. These were picked up from UK charity shops, or thrift stores as you call them in America. They were all £1 or less. And first up, it's the self-titled album by the Headboys. And this was put out on the RSO label. And they were a UK new wave band from the late 1970s. The Shape of Things to Come almost broke into the UK top singles chart. A really super catchy song, and also the tracks My Favourite DJ, Schoolgirls and Turn It All Down are also worth listening to. Although overall there's not much here to make them stand out from the crowd at the time. The keyboard player, Callum Malcolm, sounds like he's slumming it from a prog rock band, and he's actually had an interesting career post Headboys. He's become an in-demand producer and arranger, and also has worked closely as a collaborator with the Blue Nile, and was responsible for remastering their 4 albums for vinyl in recent years. And next up we've got 2 records set by Charlie Rich, and this is a budget issue on the Pickwick label. And these are 1960s recordings for the Sun subsidiary label Philips International, including the Elvis Presley sound like Lonely Weekends. You also get tracks recorded for the Smash label. The best of these is Mohair Sam, which is an ultra cool piano groove which is guaranteed to get you up and dancing. And I also really like the country soul of I Washed My Hands in Muddy Water. Next up, Bruce Springsteen, Tunnel of Love on CBS. And this is a set of introspective love songs with a uniformly strong set of lyrics here, most of them in the first person, exploring the complexities of being in and sustaining a relationship. I think the lyrics are definitely influenced by his love for Jackson Browne. Knowing that Springsteen also plays a lot of the instruments on here makes this feel like one of his more personal and soul-bearing records. Okay, moving on, we come to STEELEYE Span and All Around My Hat. And this was on the Chrysalis label, and their most successful album, certainly here in the UK. The title track was a top 10 single, and like most chart records back in the day, it eventually outstayed its welcome. The real pleasant surprises on this album are to be found in the deep cuts, which are a mixture of acoustic folk and some more rock-based interpretations of traditional songs. Next, it's Jimmy Buffett and the album Changes in Latitudes, Changes in Attitudes on the ABC label. And in a gatefold sleeve. This was his breakthrough hit album in the United States, but it's never had more than a cult following here in the UK. Country-tinged ballads extolling the virtues of a Caribbean beach lifestyle was always going to be a hard sell in 1977 when the UK was getting into punk rock. However, in the middle of a January cold snap, it's hard to resist the laid-back charms of tracks such as Margaritaville and Lovely Cruise. And next up, an album that's been an absolute revelation. I think I've only ever heard odd tracks off this album, never the full album. It's Elton John by Elton John. I'm a sucker for a great string arrangement, and this album is awash with simply stunning arrangements by Paul Buckmaster. 60 years on, has cinematic strings to die for, and Border Song, Take Me to the Pilot, and Your Song just stand at the pinnacle of pop songwriting. Next up, it's Facts of Life and Sometimes, and this is on the Kayvette label. And they were a vocal trio that was put together by Millie Jackson, and the mix of female and male vocals, which are all steeped in the emotional punch of the gospel choir are the appeal here for me. The two opening tracks, Sometimes and Caught in the Act of Getting It On, deal honestly with the complexities of adult relationships. The rest of the album, to be fair, pales in comparison to these two tracks, but those are definitely well worth hearing. Next up, it's ROXY Music on the EG label, Avalon, from 1982. And this was ROXY Music's final album. And it's a long way from the glam art rock of their self-titled debut, which came out just 10 years before. Depending on my mood, it's either a soporific bore or it's an elegant pop masterclass with tunes such as Avalon, While My Heart Is Still Beating, and More Than This, which can soothe and caress your soul. When I'm in charity shops, I'm always looking out for any folk releases on the Topic label, so I was really pleased to find this one from the mid-70s, and Martin Carthy, Crown of Horn. And this is an impeccable selection of mostly traditional songs. You also get a contemporary song by Leon Rosselson as well. They're either vocals and guitar, acoustic guitar accompaniment, or 3 tracks a cappella, and a couple where there's some very understated synthesizers been added to the tracks. The highlights for me are his interpretation of Leon Rosselson's politically charged Palaces of Gold, which is about the Aberfan pit disaster. I also love his a cappella rendering of William Taylor the Poacher, and the opening track as well, the Howering, the Bed Making. And next up, an artist that I normally like, LOUDON WAINWRIGHT III, I'm Alright. And I definitely wanted to pick this one up when I saw it because of the involvement of Richard Thompson, who appears as a co-producer and plays on some of the tracks, along with quite a few other English folk rock luminaries. The album was recorded in London. Unfortunately, though, it all feels a bit pedestrian to me. Even the best songs, and there are some good songs on here. One Man Guy, the title track, I'm Alright, and Not John, which is about John Lennon's assassination. They all just fail to cause much of a stir, I'm afraid. Next, I think this is the first record I've ever had by 10,000 Maniacs, The Wishing Chair. And this was their debut release on the Elektra label, although they'd had some independent releases prior to this. Produced by Joe Boyd and fresh from his producing of R.E.M's Fables of the Reconstruction. And you get a mix of Anglophile influenced folk rock and also some more commercial sort of college rock, which was popular at the time. The tracks Scorpio Rising, Maddox Table and Grey Victory were the ones that appealed most to me. But there's a real downside, I'm afraid, and that's Natalie Merchant's vocals, which are a real problem for me. They're very high in the mix, but even then, I just can't make out what on earth she's singing about. She has got such poor diction, and it all gets a bit too bland after a while. It needs maybe her to sing clearer for a start, and also maybe have some male backing vocalists and harmonies just to make it not so monotonous. And moving along, we come to the Grassroots and Move Along. I was expecting this to be, from looking at the cover, to be a very sort of laid-back Eagles influenced country rock, but it's mostly up-tempo brass rock in the style of Blood, Sweat and Tears. It's not subtle at all, and it's too samey for repeated listens, but the singles, Two Divided by Love, The Runway and Glory Bound, are the pick here, but they do, I must say, sound painfully dated. Okay, so a mixed bag there, I'm afraid, but there was some really great albums. So Elton John, Bruce Springsteen, Martin Carthy, even the Headboys is an interesting listen. So I hope there was something there that you found of interest. And I'll see you again soon, so take care.